guys, Jill here. Today I'm doing a video for the Altenew video challenge number 6. This is the card I'm making and we're going to jump right in. So I am using the Penned Rose stamp set, and these are the stamps that I'm using from that, and just one stamp from the Beautiful Day stamp set. So I'm starting out on a piece of fun foam, and I'm using Cryogen white paper. I'm also going to be using, of course, the anti-static buddy, and I am going to stamp the images with my Versamark watermark ink pad onto that paper, and then I'm going to get all of my images that I need, and I'll need 2 of one of those leaves, and then I'm going to emboss it with the Silver Pearls embossing powder. And what that is, that's labeled different, but it's really just the Ranger Pearl embossing powder. And then once I cover all of that with the embossing powder, I'm just going to flick off any of the excess and of course put it back into my jar. And then I'm going to heat set it. And of course I always like to get my heat tool nice and hot beforehand so I don't warp any of the paper. Okay, so after that's all done, I am going to get out my, I guess, paint, because I'm not really using paint. And I'm going to add some water to the wells of my Distress palette. And some Distress re-inkers. I'm using spun sugar, aged mahogany, and forest moss. And I'm just using a drop of each of those. And some clean water. Using a number 4 brush. And I'm starting with the rose and just filling it with water. And you want to be generous with the water. And then I'm putting a little bit of water into each of the drops of the re-inker. And then I'm just going to spread that spun sugar throughout the rose. And then I'll go a little bit into that aged mahogany because it is a very rich color. Now with any watercoloring, that color is going to drop back once it dries. So again, I'm trying to flood the area, and this is going to be a give and take here. I'm going to take some away with the rag and then add some back in. And all in all, this entire part took about 20 minutes. I obviously sped it up. And so you can see I'm adding in some dark spots. But when you flood it with the water, it really makes the ink spread out. You could really use any re-inkers for this. But of course I have Distress re-inkers for my ink pads. I love my Distress pads. And so now we're moving on to the small cluster of flowers. I tried to keep this one just a little bit lighter. And remember, once it dries, you can always come back to it. And I do that with this little cluster. And I actually messed around with it. And I let most of this air dry. I know there's always a debate between air dry or heat set it, and I'm kind of in the middle. Sometimes I will heat set things, and sometimes I will let them air dry. And here I let them air dry. And I often find I don't get as many blooms in my work if I let it air dry. And I think that's where the difference is. And sometimes I love the blooms, like on backgrounds especially. But with that large petal on the rose, I didn't want to bloom. So that's why I let it air dry. And so with the leaves, as you can see, that green is really, really dark. So I keep putting it on and removing it. So we're almost done with this portion. And I love how that came out. And so I'm going to go away to cut all of this out and actually try out a nail polish. So you're going to see in the next segment that my thumb is painted one color of nail polish, and actually I didn't like it, but I forgot to take it off. So here everything is cut out, and I have my layers. And I'm going to be using my matte medium, and that's what I use for my layers. So this is an Anna Griffin die cut. I got it on Home Shopping Network, so it doesn't have a name. I cut it out with gold shimmer paper, and I am attaching it to just a piece of tan scrapbook paper that I have in my stash. And the thing about matte medium is it just kind of disappears into the paper, so don't worry if you're a little bit messy. So I'm using this to attach all of my pieces. And it goes really quick this way. Don't be afraid to get your fingers into it. I use a rag to kind of wipe up all the extra mess. And I'm sorry my adhesive runner got really close here. I left a tiny border on my black card. And this is a die cut that I had for my Silhouette Cameo. I love to use that to make custom die cuts. And then these are my Tim Holtz die cuts. And there's that small piece that I made. And I'm going to put everything on with foam dots after I'm done attaching these die cuts, the thank you die cuts, as well as the leaves with the matte medium. And I'm going to cut that out because seriously, watching me with the foam tape was way too long. And I'm going to jump to the finished card. But I also have a picture of the finished card on my blog, as well as a list of all the supplies that I used. And that is my blog is listed below this video, as well as the picture that is going to appear in just a moment. My blog is on there. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.